If you're interested in publishing a book on Amazon KDP, this video is just for you. I just received my copy of my own book, Blueprints of the Soul. It's a poetry book about human design, and I recorded the entire process of me creating the manuscript, uploading it to Amazon KDP, filling out all of these categories and tags, and of course, creating the cover. And this is what this video is about. I feel like I don't really need to intro this video that much. We're not going to have a 30-minute tutorial of how to create the notebook cover for your book. We're actually going to be talking about actual publishing, and I hope that you will find this video useful. Before we're going to get started, I have to get one thing out of the way, and that is to introduce myself. So to those of you who are watching this channel right now and don't know, hi everyone, welcome to my channel Passive Income with May. I'm May, otherwise the name of the channel would make no sense. And here on this channel I talk about whatever I do from my own passive income streams, which is print on demand, digital downloads, affiliate marketing, and now KDP. So coming down from the high of holding the book in my hand and like sharing it with friends of mine who've seen it in real life, and I actually got orders. Let's go back a few months ago to when I started thinking, okay, I need to put this book on Amazon KDP, and I don't really want to use Canva for the actual manuscript. Instead, I actually used KDP's own demo files because they have those. So I went to Amazon KDP and downloaded the paperback demo file. This is supposed to work on Word if you have Windows, or for me, when I have Mac, it just opens it on Pages. You can download a doc or docs version of a book without any content on it, or with demo content, which is what I went for. And when you download this file, which is zipped, and you unzip it, you can see so many languages inside, and in each language you have all the sizes of the paperback. I guess like most of the sizes of the paperback by Amazon. And in my case, I chose to make my book 5 by 8 inches. Side note, I'm not American, and I actually took like a ruler and had like inches drawn on a piece of paper to visualize what 5 by 8 inches really is. Now, if you look at the demo content of the book, it basically looks like nothing. It has a title, it has your name, it has a place for a dedication, and the table of contents kind of start on the first page, even though you have to like space it down a row to make it make more sense. After the table of content, you also have acknowledgements, and then you have chapters. And because this is a doc file, Word document, or because it's a Pages file, in my case with a Mac, you can just change everything on it. Personally, I changed the font, not just the text, or control the font size and even color if you want to publish your book in color, and of course add images if that is something that you want in your book. Now, one thing that I did really like about this demo content is that it automatically opens it up to like an actual book view. So you're only seeing the right side because that is the first page that is going to be printed, and then you see all doubles all the way, and just make sure to finish it on the left side. Otherwise, KDP is going to add an added page to it to make sure that the pages are printed right. There was no play with margins or anything like that. I didn't really have to think about anything other than filling out the document with the actual text of the book that I wrote. So that was pretty easy and pretty painless. And I've seen multiple tutorials online going about this with Canva, and I honestly don't know why people just don't use that. It's a tool by Amazon. Now, personally for me, I didn't have an acknowledgement part because I wasn't quoting anyone or using any resources that I know how to name. It's not like my book is made on top of someone else's art or acknowledgement to a teacher who taught me anything, but if that's the case with you, do add acknowledgements. But right after the table of contents, I did add an introduction. My book personally is a book of poems, so the introduction is a poem as well, which I thought to be really funny. And then I created subtitles instead of chapters. I didn't have like full chapters. I just created these like banner in the middle for each page. And at the end of the book, I did final words with again a poem that talks about me. So the about me section of the book at the end about the author is actually a poem. But that was my choice. And of course, you can do whatever you want if you don't have a poetry book and just have a normal print book or fantasy or fiction or a true story. But I chose to go along with the poem motif. I thought it would be fitting. Now, personally, my steps when it comes to the actual book was to edit all of the poems and place all the poems on the document, on the Pages document that I had on my computer, and then print it out in a printer so that I can review it after that when it's printed. Dum-da-da-dum! Now, there are two main reasons why I chose to print this book first and then edit it on the printed version and not edit it on the computer for the final version. And those are, one, I feel like we're kind of ignoring mistakes when we see them on a screen. Maybe it's the whole like your friend is texting you and they have fat fingers, or the autocorrect or the autocompletion, whatever you want to call it. And our brain has kind of learned to ignore typing mistakes because we kind of don't see them anymore because we use them so much. So I didn't want to make sure that I'm having some kind of typing mistake and I'm not seeing it because my brain is ignoring it. And the second thing, I feel like it's more like into the creative process. And for me, a lot of the creative process is done when I'm not looking at a screen. And I remember this even when I was starting to illustrate with Procreate on my iPad. I would find it very difficult to just illustrate out of the top of my head when I'm looking at a screen. Instead, I would go to someplace nice in Bansko, where I live. I would go like to the monastery here or next to the mountain or even in my balcony, and I would draw with a pen on a real piece of paper, and then I'll take a photo of it and re-illustrate that on Procreate. So I feel like the same creative process has been done here because I was literally walking around town with this thing. I was going to restaurants, having a cup of coffee and editing a poem or two. I was going to the park and editing it. And eventually I took myself on a writer's retreat in some kind of chalet, which is a cabin up, I think like 20 minutes from where I live, literally in the middle of nowhere to focus and finish my book. And I find it oddly satisfying looking at this draft now with all of my notes on the pages. Some pages obviously with more notes than others, but it was much easier for me to look at this document as a manuscript, like as a physical one, instead of in my computer. So I took all my edits and finalized them on the actual manuscript, and this is how it looks like. That was the finished file, which I ended up dedicating to my grandpa who passed away a few years ago. I exported the whole thing as PDF, and it was pretty painless. Again, not going to Canva to create your manuscript and trying to adjust the bleed or whatever, just using the files given by Amazon themselves. Next step, in my Amazon KDP account, I went to create paperback, and there you have the form to fill out. So, language, English, book title, Blueprints of the Soul, subtitle, Understanding Human Design Through Poetry. Obviously, you can write your own subtitle, which will be different because it's not poems, or you don't have to write a subtitle if you don't want to. Then we have series and edition, which was not relevant in my case, but it is relevant if you are republishing a book or if this book belongs to a specific series. And in that case, I would recommend obviously filling it out because it will make it easier for Amazon to pair this with the other books in your series. Under author, I put Maya Arroyo. For those of you who don't know, my full name is Maya May Arroyo. Now, if I take May Arroyo, which used to be the name of this channel, and it's also my name on Instagram, and I take the A of Arroyo and push it back, I'm creating Maya Arroyo, and that kind of always used to be my name when I was on multiple platforms like InPrint or even Displate. It was kind of like my artist name, so I decided to use that one. I find that it sounds better and it's really flowing, and I like the way that it's written. It's even on my WhatsApps, like Maya Arroyo. I really like the way that it flows together. And as for a website, I already have mayarroyo.com, which mayarroyo.com is literally the same domain, so I don't really have a problem, but that is the author name that I chose. And you can also put in contributors if you have those. For example, if someone else did the editing and you want to put them as contribution, or did the illustration, or did some of the writing, and so on, which was not the case for me. And now we're getting to the part of the description of the book, which is what people see when they go onto amazon.com.de, whatever, and they look at the book and they think to themselves, do I want to buy it? And in this case, there are plenty of things that you can write in the description of your book. And it really does depend on what your book is. What I know works for a lot of people is to have some kind of a sneak preview, a meaningful quote from your book, a small piece of it, and then explain what the book is about and a little bit about you, not about the author, but a little bit about you in the context of why you're writing this book. And in my case, with Blueprints of the Soul, Understanding Human Design Through Poetry, I wrote in the description, and yes, I'm reading it from my phone, I get it now, my dad said. The 4-6 generator I love so very much. This is about human design. 4-6 is a profile, generator is a type. I mean, we've been talking about human design for such a long time, but somehow through these poems, I really get it now. My manifestor heart was now at peace. This is a real conversation that I had with my dad because I was going over this manuscript with him, and he really did say that. So that was like a really big moment for me. And I put it into the about section or the description of the book. Blueprints of the Soul is an ode to everything that we are. Generators, manifesting generators, projectors, manifestor reflectors, basically specifying that it's for all the types of human design, basically telling my target audience, hey, you are my audience. Through our centers, our profiles, our digestion, showing our pet peeves, and our embedded perfection. Over 100 poems tailored for deeper understanding, meant to foster connections, a piece of my heart, and hopefully yours. I don't know if you would say that this is enough of a description or not enough of a description, but that's what I chose to write. And I feel like a lot of the times it's also about where do we perceive or where do we expect the traffic to come from? Because I didn't really expect anyone to go on Amazon.com and search for human design poetry. I do expect to bring a lot of the traffic on my own. So I didn't put as much emphasis on the description as I might have put in the description if I was banking on traffic just from Amazon. And in any case, the description can be much longer than what I did or much shorter. It's totally up to you. Next up, publishing rights. I own my publishing rights because I wrote this book. And then you have the primary audience section, which is if your images or your text or title basically is sexually explicit, so no. Reading age, which is optional, which I didn't put there because I don't have anything too sexual. And also, this is not something specific to a specific target audience in terms of age. That will be a different case, for example, if you're actually doing like a workbook for kids and you need to specify what age is it for, or if you're doing fiction for kids, or if you're doing something for adults, and in that case you really do need to specify a minimum age to make sure that kids are not going to see this, because then Amazon is going to get pissed off. Moving on to the primary marketplace, which for me I chose Amazon.com. I feel like obviously if your book is in German, maybe put it at Amazon.de, or if your book is in Spanish, so Amazon Español. But for most people, I would recommend Amazon.com, unless you are, for example, a really known author in Canada, and then you would go with Amazon.ca, but I put Amazon.com as my main marketplace. And we moved on to categories. And for that part, I actually went in and searched for poetry books and I searched for human design books to see what kind of category I want to put my book in. And you can put your book in 3 categories. And this is basically this initial list of categories that always expands and expands to a more specific thing. So what I did with my categories was category number 1, I put it under self-help and new age, because human design will fall under the criteria of self-help and new age. For category 2, I went with the poetry part of it. So I put it under literature and fiction, and the subsection of poetry, with the type of poetry being general, because I couldn't find anything that was very specifically for human design. But I did find human design with category number 3 when I went with religion and spirituality. The sub is new age and spirituality, and then I had a little nice tick box for human design. My heart is happy now. I have my category. I really felt like, yay, it wasn't all for nothing. People actually go to Amazon.com to get human design books. Yay. Next up, you need to mark if this is a low content book, which in that case, it's not low content, would be, some people would say coloring pages, as well as just a book that basically have like journaling prompts, or a book that is basically empty, like a notebook. And for those, you're not going to get an ISBN. And you have to mark if this is a large print book. So if you're using a font that is more than 16 points, this is called large print books, which means that people with vision problems can read them better. None of this applied in my case. And then I have to put in 7 keywords. I didn't put my name as a keyword. What I did put in was human design poetry, and the 5 archetypes of human design. Hopefully, if someone is going to search like human design manifestors, they're going to find my book. But I do recommend do not repeat my mistake and put your name or the name of your publication house or the name of your main project in those tags as well. So if someone is going to search your name as an author on Amazon, more chances they find it. I do think they will still find it because it's my name on Amazon or the name of the book. I don't think that it's good to be that repetitive, but again, in my case, I just went with the general niche, which is human design, a more targeted one, human design poetry, in case someone writes it in Amazon search, and the 5 main archetypes of human design as tags. Then you have to fill out your publication date. Again, if this is like a second edition of the book or like a more updated edition of the book, then you would have a different publishing time. But since this is the first time I'm publishing it, so the publication date is the release date and they are the same. The release date option is if you want to publish this book immediately, or if you want to place it on Amazon as a book that people can look at but not buy yet, to basically launch your book at a specific time. I know a lot of authors who do that, who have like the release come up and they post it a lot in advance for people to like look at Amazon and go like, I can't buy it yet. I can't buy it yet. I didn't feel the need to do that because I don't have an existing audience for my book right now, but maybe for future books I will be doing that, and I feel like this is kind of like a buzz thing that you can create around your book if you already have an audience. Then I clicked on Save and Continue and arrived at the new screen, which is my ISBN. If you already purchased your own ISBN, you can input it there, but I haven't, so get my ISBN for free from Amazon. That was my choice. And then we arrive at print choices, which I chose the paper to be white and the text to be only black and white because I don't need any color in the text itself. The trim was automatically set for 6:9. I chose different, which is 5:8, 5x8, I mean. Bleed PDF only, and a matte cover. I actually looked at all of these and then checked out some of the books that I had and decided to change the paper to cream paper. I thought it would be more fitting with poetry. So that's what I did and moved on to uploading my file, uploading my manuscript, which is again, click on manuscript and upload. I feel like a lot of people who watch these kind of videos just want to see the process. So you'll be like, oh, that's not so painful. I can upload my book to Amazon. I know that's how I felt the first time I saw these videos, and especially the first time that I saw the process of uploading to Amazon KDP. It's really not that scary, and I mean, it is, I feel like, artistically scary to do something like that, but it's really not such a hassle, and I hope that this video is showing you just how easy it is. And by the way, if you like it so far, feel free to hit the like button. YouTube likes it when people hit the like button on videos. Moving on to the cover. And there is a button up there for your cover calculator where you basically input all of the information about your book, like the size of the book and how many pages you have and stuff like that. And it basically gives you an image, a downloadable file with PDF and PNG of how you should structure your book cover. And this is how the cover looks like. On the right side, we have the front of the cover, and on the left side we have the back of the cover. Whatever is gonna be on the red zones is not really going to be visible or might not be visible, so don't put anything important there. And on the right side, as you can see, this is a 5x8 inches book. That's the size in millimeters, and you have the overall dimensions that you need to input, which are 10.635 inches by 8.250 inches. And you have the spine width, how wide the spine is going to look like, and of course your settings. So black and white, 154 pages, cream paper. If you upload another book with the same sizes but a different page count, I would really recommend downloading, again, what do you mean recommend? You need to recalculate the size of the cover to make sure that it fits the exact number of pages that you have. Now, if you look at the left side, we have a place for a barcode that will be printed, so make sure that you don't have anything on the cover there. And in the case of the cover, I did create it using Canva. I went to Canva and created a document based on these specifications, which is 10.635 inches by 8.25 inches, and dragged my PNG into the Canva and placed it as my background. The title, of course, is going on the right side, which is the front side. And what I like to do is to take a square and basically stretch it on the front side of the cover where the white space is. And that is because I can later on take any piece of text and center it based on that, because I'm not centering my text based on the entire design, because the entire design is the entire cover, back and front. And I want to make sure that I'll be able to align my text to look straight at the front cover. And I did the same thing with the square for the back print. Now, of course, front is a name, some kind of tagline or subline. In my case, it was Blueprints of the Soul, and I wrote a poetic journey into the magic of human design, and of course, by the author, Meya Royo, and I put my background as purple. Now, I kept readjusting the book name and everything to basically go aligned with the center of that square to make sure that it is center. Now, for the back, I actually put one of the ending poems, the poems that was in the About Me section, in the back. I could have gone with anything else. A lot of people put in their author photo and put in some about them. I chose to go with a little bit of text, and I wrote, "It is not perfection, but a continuous act of becoming. Human design to me is not blueprint realization, but a living, breathing tool for exploring. This map, a stepping stone to a journey of self-awareness, self-expression. It's not just a feeling, a knowing, it's necessity." It's how I open the door to the worlds within me and invite you in. That's what I chose to post as the back of the book. But again, you could put an about me section, you can put comments on the book, you can put reviews on a book if it's a second edition and you had reviews from a previous one, and of course a photo of you if that's what you want. But I chose in this case to go with one of the poems. I feel like maybe it's like a taste of what's inside. Now, as I was doing it, I was kind of minimizing the squares just so I'll see what I'm doing while still maintaining the squares so I can center every piece of text that I want. And I took a chart, basically the human design body graph, because that is the type, that is the theme or the niche of this book. A little bit faded and to the side, like lowered the opacity. And for the front cover, I used the same body graph but upside down. I thought it will be kind of quirky and funny because it's like poetry about human design, not like a book that explains what human design was. That was my thought process. I don't know why. I added a few lines. My cover was now completed. I was at peace. And of course, right after being at peace that I finished my cover, I uploaded the cover to Amazon KDP. Next up, we have the part about AI generated content. And I know a lot of you have been asking this question, mostly in DMs, when I did the video about my overall plan for this project. And I even answered some of these questions in the Q&A that we had when people were talking about AI text. So now we need to write in if we have AI generated content, which I wrote yes, because the question is, did you use AI tools in creating text, images, and or translations in your book? It doesn't matter how much AI you've used. If you have used AI, you need to mark it, and there is a way to mark how much AI you've used. Now, this book is a human design poetry book, and I feel like I want to explain my process with AI, with ChatGPT in this case, and it's not like me defending myself because I've already seen people react to this poetry book and the reactions were amazing, but it's more like me explaining a process to you that I feel is crucial, because what I did not do is go to ChatGPT and write, give me a poem that is for human design manifestors, because that poem sucked. I have been trying to run things relating to human design and a lot of other topics with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT makes mistakes. Sometimes it makes like crucial mistakes on topics that are not even debatable or an option. If you're in the human design sphere, it basically says that a human design manifestor has a defined sacral center, which is literally impossible. So what I did was not input this. What I did, for example, when I wanted to create a poem about how to get along with a manifesting generator, or a poem about what is the perfect day for a manifesting generator, was input a buttload. That's the professional term. About a page of information that I wrote myself about what is a manifesting generator. Mostly from the friends that I know, from my ex. Apparently all of my exes are manifesting generators somehow. My grandma is one. And basically input everything that they like to do, everything that they're afraid of, all the feedback they don't want to receive, all the things that piss them off, and put that in, and then told ChatGPT, based on that information, please write a poem. And then once I've had several poems together, because I didn't do that for all of the poems, I later rewrote the entire poem, placed it on the document, printed it, and then edited it again, to the point where if I look at the original poem written by ChatGPT, again, prompted extensively by me, if I look at the original poem and the printed version, there is pretty much a 10 or 20% maximum overlap, because the rest I have changed. And to be honest, I could have written, no, this was not used by AI. It would have been a very convincing lie, because when I took my poems and dumped them into these like softwares that scan if this was written by AI or not, those softwares said there was no AI involved, because this is extremely human and extremely emotional, because I rewrote them myself. To me, it kind of feels like the days when I was working with WordPress templates, and I would find like this really nice template to build a website, and then I would download the template with the entire demo content and break all of it to make the website look nothing like the original. I kind of like changing and editing things more than I like starting them from scratch. And yeah, that was my creative process. I would love to make a video on how you can create these kind of things with ChatGPT if you guys are interested, to the level of telling your actual story and writing actual information that comes from you, and using ChatGPT as basically a brain dump or a rewrite instead of relying on the information, if that's what you're interested in. And if you have issues with me using a tool this way in my book, don't get the book and don't watch my videos, and I'm saying it with all the love in the world. I'm choosing to use these tools and I love using them, and I'm very upfront about using them. And if that's not to your liking, it's a free world. Watch someone else's channel with love. Going back to the form, I typed in yes, and we have the option to write down how much. So with text, I wrote some sections with extensive editing, which is the truth. What tools did I use? ChatGPT. Images, no AI, and translation, none. Again, no AI. I moved on to launching the previewer, and in that moment I was like shaking a little bit, and I loved how the cover just fits. I was just staring at this for a while. I was like, it came out so nice, I don't need to even edit it. It came out perfect, and I could not stop smiling throughout this whole process. I went through all of the pages, mostly to see if the numbers at the bottom don't get cropped out, or if I had like a very long line, it doesn't get cropped out, and everything looked really amazing. Note the preview is white even though it was cream paper and it printed on cream paper. So if you chose cream paper and you see the preview as white, don't worry about it, it's normal. Now, a small comment here, if you can see, my last page basically invites people to visit my website. I really recommend having that either on your back cover or on your last page, some kind of page, if you have a website, whether it's a barcode that people can scan, or in this case, blueprintreflections.com, just because I want to make sure that if people have this book, they can find me, or more information about me, or in this case, even the shop and the Substack publication, because if they found this book on Amazon, I want them to be able to find me online, not just to think, hey, it's just a book, because it's so much more. It's a shop that I'm working on extensively. And here you can see the printing costs for each marketplace, but of course, my highlighted marketplace, or the top one that I chose, was Amazon.com, and the printing cost is $2.85. And this is not, if I price it at 12, this will be the margin I'm going to get, 12 minus 2.85. These are the printing costs. From the price that you're going to price your book minus the printing cost, you're going to have a revenue share split with Amazon KDP, 60 and 40%. By the way, that is one of the most appealing aspects of Books By that I made a video about a few weeks ago or a month ago or a few months ago, I don't really remember, which in that case you pay them a yearly fee for your Books By mini site, and you only get charged the printing cost when someone orders your book. There was a video about Books By. I'm going to leave a link to that one down below, and there will be a comparison video with Amazon KDP and Books By where I will be going over all of the ways in which they're different, basically trying to help you choose which one you want to go with, and also showing you the actual printing that came out from both, whether it's a book to read or a book with color. So I ordered both from both. That's weird to say, and there will be a video about that in the next few weeks. Going back to the form, I saw the printing cost and I clicked on Save and Continue. We're moving on to the next page, which is where you mark in territories, and I put in all of them. The primary marketplace cannot be changed here because it was already set in the beginning, and pricing, royalties, and expanded distribution. For those of you who don't know, expanded distribution is when bookstores would like to buy from Amazon and they will get a better price because they're buying in bulk. So your commission is going to be lower, and you can choose if you want to allow this or not. If we look at the book pricing, by the way, I priced my book at $12, and that means that I will get $4.35 in royalty, and you can see that the price adjusts itself from all of the other marketplaces based on the currency. Then I did $18, which means I'm going to get $7.95 in royalties. And I also tried $21, in which case I will be getting $9.75 in royalty. I don't know if you know this, but 18 is a very good number in the Jewish tradition. We have something called gematria, and that is a numerical value for every one of the Hebrew alphabet letters. So the word chai, which means alive, is in gematria 18, so 18 is considered a very good number, and I decided, hey, it's my first book, I'm not going to mess with superstition and God, and I'm going to price it at $18. That's at least was my process. I was also looking at other books to compare it to, and in the niche of human design, some people price their books with $17 or $18. Some people sell their book for like $40. I decided this is my first one. I'm not really familiar in that niche. I'm not really known. So $18 was for me, with again royalties of $7.95 if anyone buys the book, which people already did. I'm so happy. And then you click on publish your paperback and you are done for now. Now, my book was published on June 20th at 6:24 a.m. And when I checked my computer later on that day at 9 p.m. and 45 minutes, the book was already on Amazon. So that was the process. But now, where do we go from here? I guess every time I say where do we go from here, I'm getting like flashbacks to like, where do we go from here? The Once More with Feeling episode of Buffy. Any Buffy fans here? Never mind. So on your KDP dashboard, you can find your own book, and by clicking on a simple link, you can see all the links to your book on the different marketplaces if you want to place them on one page, which I kind of did. I made a page on my website, blueprintreflections.com, and that was the Human Design Poetry book, Blueprints of the Soul, get the book, and then there is the cover image of the book, and it says The Magic of Our Design. There is a poem about poems. This is basically the introduction poem that talks about this. And then I wrote Why Poetry, like explaining why I chose to express this through poetry with the back cover. And there is Get the Book on Amazon.com, which you can click on. It will take you to Amazon.com or other Amazon marketplaces with the full cover of the book image, and then availability on Amazon or on Amazon marketplaces from Europe. This is on my Fourthwall store, by the way, like the website I built with Fourthwall, and I will probably change it mostly because I will be doing photos of me with the book and professional photos of the book that I have ordered. I will be probably making a video on how to take photos and videos of your book to later on market it, whether it's on your website or on social media. What I also need to do is to create an author's page on Amazon itself, which when I will do it, I will film the screen and share it with you guys in a video. But one thing that I did want to say, for those of you who are publishing books for the first time, it might come as a shock, because when I published it for $18, which is roughly 17 euros, what I saw on Amazon Español, Amazon Yes for Spain, was that the book was about 48 euros. And when I went to Amazon.de, which is the German website, it was 51 euros. And for those of you who don't know, 51 euros is not the equivalent of $18. There is a thing that they do where they kind of try to assess the value of the book in that marketplace, which I don't know why it priced it so high, but it really like bummed out my launch, because I'm no way in hell am I publishing, hey, buy my book for 51 euros. I went in manually and changed manually the amount in euros, and it didn't really change, but it did align itself a few days after. So if you do publish your book with the main marketplace being Amazon.com, and then you see like crazy prices on the other Amazon marketplaces, give it a few days and see that it chills down, and then only then publish the link to your book, unless someone is willing to pay 51 euros for my poetry book. That would be nice. As I said, I need to take real photos and make videos of this book for marketing purposes and for my Substack publications, which I have two that will be used to promote this book. There is one called Blueprints Reflections, which will be completely dedicated to marketing this book for the next year. I will basically be dripping little poems here and there, and I can basically create a year's worth of content pre-scheduled on Substack to market this book. And with the Manifestor blog, which is a more niched than human design, it's one of the niche, I can post in the poems relating to manifestors or poems relating to other types as a way to talk about this with other manifestors with a link to the book. But what I will do first is to make sure that I edit the footers of these publications on Substack and the menu, and when I will do that, I'll make a video about that as well. If you don't know what Substack is and that kind of thing looks interesting to you, especially as a writer, I will leave a link down below in the description to Substack full tutorial to show you all you can do with that really awesome platform, and I feel like it's a very good platform, especially for authors. Now, as you can see, based on what I've shown you on the screen, this book is not the only thing that I'm working on. It's a part of a much, much bigger plan, a plan to tackle this specific niche and sell other things, sell this book, sell digital downloads, sell print-on-demand items, and all that jazz. And I will leave a link on the screen right now to a video that explains the entire plan itself, as well as to a full What is Fourthwall video, which is the website tool that I'm using to basically share this information, place even links to my own book, and sell print-on-demand items and digital downloads, which you can also do memberships because Fourthwall is pretty epic. But with that being said, that was it for me for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something new or were at least entertained. I would love to see your comments down below to what you thought about this process, or if you have any advice for me on what to put on my author's page on Amazon. I love learning from you as much as I love teaching. And as usual, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!